everybody, if you watched my last video on what you need to start reloading ammo, I told you in there I was going to make a video next on how to reload start to finish for beginners and go real in depth on it. And I started making that video and I realized there's a lot of information and things, and I wouldn't be making a better video to help you than what's already out there if I didn't take a step back and go over a few things that confused me, some misconceptions, some rumors that really had me confused when I started out. So in this video, we're going to go over crimping, setting up your sizing die, silver brass, if there's a difference or not, and cantilevered bullets, where you get your information. So let's get started, guys. All right, the first thing I wanted to clear up for you guys, you'll see several videos on how to set up reloading dies, in this case your resizing die. Some of the things that I found confusing was you'll see the guys that will say to use a headspace gauge to know how much you're bumping back the shoulder, things like that. That's fine, and that'll work for you. But when you're just starting out, there's nothing wrong with the straightforward trick, running your ram all the way up, keeping pressure on it down. Then you're going to screw your reloading die in until you feel it touch that ram. Then you're going to back the ram off a little bit, and you're going to turn it right about a quarter turn more, and then you'll lock your lock ring down, tighten it down, and then if you have a press with a cam over effect, you'll feel a good crisp cam over effect at the bottom. Not too stiff, but just a nice clean crisp cam over effect. If you have a dead stop, it'll just feel like a positive contact with it. That's all you need to do to set up your resizing dies, especially just starting out. The headspace gauge and stuff like that is great later on once you get experience, but there's nothing wrong with doing it this way. The next thing we're going to go over here is crimping. I'm going to make this short and sweet because you hear way too many mixed reports, and it gets really confusing. I know it was for me. There's some cartridges you have to crimp. If you have any straight-walled cartridges, pistol cartridges, cartridges that are going to shoot out of a lever action, those will all need crimped. For different reasons, but they all will need a crimp, so you'll just have to remember that when you come to those. Other rifle cartridges, I don't crimp any of my rifle cartridges. Anything that goes into a bolt action rifle doesn't get crimped. The only thing that I will sometimes crimp is if I'm shooting, like in this case 223, you get cantilevered bullets for them. They get some heavy recoil just from, you know, rapid firing them, semi-auto. So if the bullet has a cantilever, which is this little groove right here that you can see, then I will crimp them. This is another 223 bullet with no cantilever, a hollow point. I'll shoot these out of my same rifle, and the ones without the cantilever don't get a crimp, haven't had any issues. Even with the ones with the cantilever, I just apply a very light crimp. The next thing we're going to talk about is just sizing, full length sizing versus neck sizing. If you're just starting out, don't worry about neck sizing. Every time you hear about neck sizing, just cast it aside. You don't need to neck size, always full length size. Full length sizing would mean that you're sizing this entire piece of brass here. Every bit of it's getting sized. Neck sizing would just be this portion that holds your bullet in. You're just sizing that enough to hold a new bullet. Don't worry about neck sizing. It's a practice that I never use, and lots of people do not use. You might hear some guys that are all for it. Don't worry about it. Get full length sizing dies when you're just starting out, especially. On to the next rumor that I've heard several times, and I just want to clear up for you. I've heard you can't reload silver brass, or you need special tools to reload silver brass. That is not true. There is some brass that'll be silver, similar to this, but it'll be maybe a little duller. That would be steel brass, and that brass you cannot reload. And if you try to get either jammed up in your die, or you would bend the heck out of the shoulder when you try to resize it, it just won't work. That brass, you'll know if you have that steel brass because it'll be magnetic. If you got a magnet, it sticks to it, you can't reload that. This brass, however, you can see it's silver. This is just a regular piece of 223 brass. This silver brass is actually just nickel plated, so you can tumble it the same way. You can reload it in all the same dies, do everything the same way. The only thing with this brass is the nickel on the outside is a little bit harder, so you got to watch it a little bit closer for cracks or just the nickel plating flaking off in general. But as far as reloading it goes, it's the exact same process. You can use the same dies. Some people will tell you, well, it can scratch your dies because it's hard, this and that. I've reloaded all of them out of the same die. I've never had accuracy issues, any variance in the ammunition, no issues. So don't worry about it. If you got the silver brass and it ain't magnetic, tumble it, reload it, it'll work just fine. The last thing I wanted to go over in this video, just because I feel like it's a safety concern, when I started out, I did a lot of reading on forums and seeing people post what they use for their load and everything. That can be pretty dangerous, especially when you have no idea what you're doing, just starting out. Get yourself a good reloading book, Hornady, Nosler, Sierra, you name it. A good book, use that information in the book when you first start out. You read stuff in forums, you know, I could go on a forum and I could post anything. I could post a way unsafe load on there, and if you don't have a book to cross-reference to or any knowledge in it, you could really mess yourself up, hurt somebody else. Get a reloading book, use that data to start, and I'd stay away from online until you have a good reference point established.